of the commission has been operating as I expected. One commissioner's done the heavy lifting, and he was the one who I believe should have been the president of the commission. The president himself has chosen to attack public comment 2 minutes at this podium, and he's warned us that if we don't talk about the issue, there might be consequences, repercussions. Well, for 2 lousy minutes, what does it matter what any nut has to say about the commission or the police department? I've been here for a number of years, and you get some pretty strange reports toward you. I agree. But you have to lose your sensitivity. Most officers learn to do that. They learn to accommodate people of all sorts. And I don't suggest you become a police mindset, but to become concerned about what people say for 2 minutes, whether they're on the point or not, I think is unnecessary. And it's a disservice for the rest of the commissioners to even respond to those kind of things, because that's what officers learn to do. They learn not to respond to every single thing. So I would point out that you can't, by law, that's the government code, prohibit any criticism about what you do not do, or how you do it. That's in the government code. I'm sure your attorney can further address that issue. So thank you very much, and I guess we'll see each other in the next year.
Thank you. Item number 2 is the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning, Commissioners. As we approach the end of the year, I'll comment on our crime picture. We are at 16.4% reduction in homicide compared to last year. To give you an idea what that means, that's 47 fewer homicides than occurred last year at this time. We're at 24.5% reduction in rapes. To give you an idea, that's almost 200 fewer rapes than this time last year. And a 12.6% reduction in robbery. That's over 1,000 fewer robberies than last year. Aggravated assaults were down almost 9%. So the total violent crime picture in Los Angeles is an 11.5% reduction from 2012 and an 18% reduction from 2011. We're also down in every category of property crime. Our total property crime reduction is 3.4%. And our total Part 1 crime reduction, the aggregate of both violent and property crime, is 4.8%, almost 5%. Every bureau in the city is showing a crime reduction. Gang crime is also down nearly across the board. Total gang crime reduction for the city of Los Angeles for this year is 17.7%. And since 2011, just 2 short years, it's a 25% reduction. Gang-related shootings are down, and gang crime is down in every one of the city's bureaus. Sworn personnel on payroll. Actually, I'll include sworn personnel, all personnel. This includes recruits in the academy. We have 9,922 sworn personnel at this moment, just under 100 short of our slightly over 10,000 authorized deployment. Reserve officers, 275 level 1s, 22 level 2s, 131 level 3s, 392 specialist volunteers, 44 chaplains. We have 2,804 civilian personnel, and we have 543 civilian vacancies, and we have 4,010 cadets in our cadet program at this moment. And that concludes my report.
If I might, Mr. President, just offer my comments. I haven't done this in a while, but thanking the department for the extraordinary work. The crime reduction numbers, I think, are remarkable, and appreciate the work that everybody in the department is doing to bring this about. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. We do have one public comment card on this item. We have Ted Hayes.
I think it should become agendized, the problem we're having with recruiting. One of the basic concerns is the fact that just about every young person today smokes marijuana. How long it stays in the system is very based upon the medical reports on that. But nevertheless, when they apply as a candidate, many instances it's detected and they're no longer qualified. But somebody brought to my attention the fact that a lot of police work dealing with people in custody who have various kinds of tattoos on their bodies. I understand the department does allow tattoos and things of that nature. But some of those tattoos are very indicative, just like graffiti on walls and doors in various communities. They indicate some kind of gang affiliation or criminal affiliation. But I think that it should come before the commission, the problem of recruitment, how it might be handled, how other agencies do that, so that we can keep that 10,000 personnel claim accurate and honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is the report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fank.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Just a very brief item reminding the Department and community that next week, December 17th, will be our last meeting of the year. We'll be dark December 24th and December 31st, and our first meeting in the new year will be January 7th. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda is the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have nothing to report today.
Thank you. Item number 5 consists of information items and filed items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending December 6, 2013. Item number 6, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
Not today.
Thank you. Item number 7 is consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Will the commissioner wish to pull any item on number 7?
No, none of the consent.
Move approval of items 7A through 7H.
Sandra, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we are on item number 8, regular agenda items. Items 8A, B, C, and D are verbal presentations. Would a commissioner wish to pull any item from 8E through K for discussion?
I would think it's would be worth hearing on J and K, and I would move approval of items 8E, 8F, 8G, 8H, and HI.
I'm interested in pulling F, just for explanation, and did you pull J?
Yes.
And,
So,
and did you pull K also?
yes.
Okay, great.
So I move approval of items 8E, 8G, 8H, and 8I.
Do we have a second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We will then begin with item 8A, verbal presentation and update from the Commanding Officer and Community Police Advisory Board representative regarding community-initiated problem-solving, crime strategies, and other programs and goals within the Topanga area.
Welcome. Morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you. Mr. President, Police Commissioners, Mr. T. Fank, Chief Beck, and Mr. Bustamante, good morning. I'm Joel Justice, the Area Commanding Officer of Topanga Area, and this is Bob Bosch, my CPAB co-chair.
Hey, Bob.
Topanga consists of basically 4 areas: West Hills, Canoga Park, Winnetka, and Woodland Hills. The geography and demographics, the population's about 250,000, 33 square miles, and 533 street miles. We have 28 members in our CPAB. Breaks down of 58% male, 42% female. We have representatives from businesses, schools, and the residents. Woodland Hills, Winnetka, and Canoga Park each make up 21%, and West Hills makes up 36% of our CPAB. Our crime picture right now, Topanga is, overall crime is up 3.4%, which is a reduction. We were up at 5.8%. So we're heading in the right direction.
Where's the 3.8 in what?
Overall crime. Right now, our violent crime is down 2.2%. Our property crime is up 3.9%, and our gang crime is down 3.4%. Our arrests, we've made over 4,800 arrests this year. Our Part 1 arrests are down 1%, which is 7 arrests, and we've issued over 9,600 citations.
My turn. My name is Bob Bash. I've been a volunteer at the Topanga Station now ever since the day it opened up, since January 4th, so I'm going on my 5th year at Topanga. Not only am I the co-chairman of the CPAB, but I'm also a front desk volunteer. And I've been working the front desk now for 5 years. And I'll have some further comments on the front desk a little bit further in. Currently, we have 101 volunteers at our station. Last year, in 2012, we had 83. So we're increasing our population of volunteers, and our volunteers are spread out throughout the front desk, which we have about 12 volunteers, of which I'm one of them. I'm the senior volunteer at the front desk. We have the detective front desk manned by volunteers. We also have volunteer surveillance team, which consists of volunteers who go out in the evening, sit on rooftops with radios, and try to keep our neighborhoods covered as far as graffiti and anything else they might come up with. In addition to that, our volunteers will work out of the community relations office, helping out our senior lead officers, doing a lot of their paperwork and things of that nature. As I mentioned the front desk, there was one other thing I wanted to mention about the front desk, in that it's one of the goals that one of the newest bureaus that we came up with, the civilian co-chairs of the 7 stations in the valley. We represent 33% of the police stations, and we also represent approximately close to 50% of the population of Los Angeles. And so because of that, we got together and we have we've created our own bureau, and we've created certain goals. Those goals have been talked about with Deputy Chief Villegas, and one of the goals that we came up with was improving the quality and the way the front desk operates, helping the officers who run the front desk, and also helping the citizens who come in and ask for help when they come into the front desk. Some of the things that we've come up with, as I can find it, well, I missed it. Some of the things we've come up with is coming up with a short form on one of the forms that we fill out when somebody wants to come in and file a report. When we build up with people and they're waiting for reports, they sit around in our lobby and they have nothing much to do, and it's hard to keep track of who came in, who's first, who's second, who's third. So what I came up with was a short form of the form that we would fill out, and we give it to those folks. We put a time on it, and we let them fill out the preliminary information on the form itself. In the meantime, that gives our officers time on the front desk to complete what they're doing and to continue working on the telephone. As they turn in their forms to us, they have the time on it that we gave it to them, and the officers will then call them up as their time comes up. In the meantime, we've given them something to do rather than sit there and twiddle their thumbs. And it also helps the officers continue on with what they're doing. One of the other things that's very, very important, especially at the Topanga station, and that is we have a very unique telephone system. It doesn't work like a normal telephone system. It's VoIP, which works off the internet. So at the front desk, it creates problems for us if you don't know how to operate it. So one of the things that I've done since I've been at the station so long, I learned how to use the telephone system. I also train officers how to use the phone system who haven't been at the front desk. Especially occasionally we get a P1, and the P1 doesn't know anything about handling the telephone system, and so I'll help them and train them as to how to use the phone system. It's extremely important because of the limit that we have on how many phone calls we can handle at any given time. Our phones only allow us to handle 1 call at a time at the front desk. creates problems for us. So even transferring a call is unique in that you don't transfer it like a normal call. One of the other major problems that we had a few years ago is handling our translation line. We will handle any ethnicity that comes in by offering somebody who can have a conversation with them to find out what it is that they want. We have people who can translate in the office or at the patrol station, mostly Hispanic. However, occasionally we have Farsi. But when we get something other than that, and we've had Swahili, and we have IA, Internal Affairs, who tests us periodically to see if we in fact know how to use the translation line. And so that's one of the other main things that I'll work on with the new arrivals there at the front desk and also with the trainees, in that I also train all our new volunteers who come in at the front desk. So I teach them absolutely how to use the translation line. It's a very important and a key area of how we service our customers. The Topanga Youth Board. We have cadets. We currently have 117 cadets. In 2011, we had 43. We have junior cadets, which we used to call DAPs. Now they're called junior cadets. We have 132 of them. In 2011, we had 52. And in Jeopardy, we have currently 15 in Jeopardy, and 2011 we had 11. Luckily, that isn't growing, but the other ones are. We also have a group called Boosters, and the Boosters help us out tremendously by running programs, gaining money, and buying things for the station that we can't get through LAPD or through the City of LA. Okay, Captain Justice?
Good morning. As you can see, our youth programs have grown tremendously. Our junior cadets is a feeder pool to the cadet program, and as you can see, we're really proud of that because it's grown from 52 to 132. And the junior cadets is the feeder pool to the cadet program, and so we're really proud of that program.
One of the things that we talk about, and we did this last year also, and that is some of the things that we've done throughout the year having to do with using CPAB and then also using volunteers and also using station personnel. I'm not going to go through the whole calendar. We did this on January and February and so on, but there are certain highlights of things that we did do, which I think are very constructive, and they're also important as to how we involve volunteers as well as CPAB. One of the things that we did, which you have to see to understand, and that is we created a committee called TRUE. TRUE had to do with involving our appearance of our police station. When the station was built and opened in 2009, it was absolutely gorgeous. If you saw it there, everything was green, everything was watered, the trees were standing up straight, everything looked beautiful. But then it went to pot from there, because there was no budget money that was established to maintain any of that stuff.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. And there was also, it was planted incorrectly. It was the wrong stuff that was planted, and the watering system broke down very shortly. And it seemed as if when they designed it, they didn't realize that this was in the northwest San Fernando Valley. We're a desert. They planted the wrong stuff. It didn't get watered appropriately. When we first when we had our first Santa Ana, you're laughing. We had the first set of Santa Ana winds. Many of our trees in our parking lot, by the way, we have 6 acres there. The building takes up about 2. The rest of it is all ground cover and plants. Trees blew down. We called General Services to have the trees put back up. They didn't have personnel available. They had no budget to do that. We put some of the trees back up. They died. The weeds got very, very healthy, and the weeds grew, and in fact, we had weeds that were probably 3 and 4 feet tall. We had no maintenance on the police station because there was no budget to do it, so we tried to do it on our own. We got community service people in working off their tickets. They didn't know the difference between a weed and a plant, and that didn't work. So we went for about 3 years, 3.5 years.
This has got a happy ending, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. In
It's
fact,
holidays. I just don't need a sob story right
no, no. This is not a sob story. This is a very positive
Okay,
occurrence.
go ahead. Take your time.
In that, through all this hardship, for all the stuff that was going on, and we saw this, and me working at the front desk, people would come in who had sad stories, and they asked us what was our problem. Now, we had a problem, and the problem was money. So what we did is we formed a True Committee, and that was started by Captain Brasha, who retired. And the True Committee took the responsibility of replanting the entire 6 acres of our police station. We partnered with an organization called the Theodore Payne Foundation, who specializes in nothing but native California plants. We partnered with another organization called the Miller School, who has handicapped kids. And so we brought them in. They started pulling weeds. The Payne Foundation redesigned all of our plants, everything. They gave us a free redesign on everything with all California native plants. We brought people in as volunteers one day in, I believe it was April, and we had a weed pulling and a planting session. And we replanted the entire whole front section of the police station. It's now a park-like setting. It's a very positive setting. In fact, you were there, but you were on the inside. You didn't walk on the outside.
You didn't tell me the story. I would have.
If I had the time at the front desk, I would have, but you were busy. I would invite all the commissioners, if you have the time, to take a trip to the Northwest San Fernando Valley, come to the inside of the station, but then walk around the outside also and see what we've done to it. It was so positive that we became an item on the Theodore Payne Foundation garden show, on their garden tour. And so they brought people out. They sold tickets, not for our station, but they sold tickets. They brought people out there, and we had people from all over Los Angeles coming out there saying, wow, a police station. This is amazing that you people have done it. Who did it? City did it? No. City did not do it. We have not cost the city of L.A. 1 penny in redoing it. It's a 3-year project. The first year plus has gone by now. It uses less water. It uses 1/7 the amount of water that all the other stuff would have used. It doesn't use automated watering equipment. It's watered by hand in the beginning. At the end of the 3rd year, it'll be self-sustaining. It won't require much of anything. And so we've done that. And that, to me, is a very positive. Is it holding down crime? Maybe. People get a better look at the police station and say, wow, you people are proud of what you have there. You've really done a good job. So that was one of the main things that we did that's on our calendar.
It's
There's
a
whole
great
bunch of other-
statement of best practices for the community. The community's part of community policing.
Oh,
It's great.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
Well, we did one other thing, too, because our station is number 21. We broke the station down into 21 parcels of land. We then asked people to come in and adopt a parcel. The first parcel that was adopted happened to be myself and my wife. We adopted the whole front of the station,
Nice.
where we had 14 palm trees, which had not been trimmed ever. We tried to get GSD to come in and trim the trees. No way.
You're
Couldn't.
Station 21?
21.
Should have a blackjack tournament.
That's our logo. It's King Ace, right on our logo.
Okay.
So my wife and I adopted the front of the station, and I hired private tree trimmers to come out and trim the trees, my own expense. I didn't ask for anybody to come back and give me any money for it. It had to be done, and so we did it. So we did that with the whole station, and some of the folks, it was a 1-year commitment. They adopted their plot. They maintain it. They keep it weeded. They keep it watered, and we're very proud of how the station appears right now. I've taken a lot of our time in explaining, but to me, that was a very important thing that we did with the community and with the police department and with the CPAB. Okay,
Thanks for your service and your help.
appreciate it.
In closing, I'd like to thank Mr. Bob Bosch for not only his presentation here today, but his volunteer dedication to Topanga. He is there twice a week, every week, and puts in many, many volunteer hours. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We do have one public comment card. We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
About 25 years ago, the Community Redevelopment Agency, remember them, had a plan to do what they call gray water watering for every park and every green area in the entire city. as you no doubt know, that never took effect. Currently, Councilman LeBon wants to water the golf course in Griffith Park. I don't think that'll happen. It's not reasonable at all. But I would like the gentleman to look at our entry to this police station. I mean, that landscaping is incredible. And unfortunately, it's had a bad history because they allowed it to go viral, die out, and then replaced it. Cost us a huge amount of money, but I think it was planned that way. But anyway, I appreciate what you're doing, and I wish that sentiment that you had could be spread throughout the entire department stations. Some of them have very little lawns, but what they do have could be worthwhile. For instance, 77th Street has about a 4-foot rise up to the building, and it has what they call wash lighting. And what had happened is the children were walking on that, breaking the lighting, and it took me forever to get them simply to fill in those things which were dangerous. But look at the landscape outside. I don't suggest you try to do anything like that because I'm certain it costs a huge amount of money. But I appreciate what you've done for your station. I'd certainly like to take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks again. Happy holidays.
You too.
Okay, and the department has asked that we hear 8C next, which is the department's verbal presentation and discussion relative to police radio communications reception.
Maggie. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Maggie Goodrich, CIO for the LAPD. I'm joined here by Senior PSR Todd Austin from Communications Division.
Morning.
And also Lieutenant McCraney from Communications Division. I was asked to just come give you a brief background just on radio coverage in general across the city. So I'll give you some information on that. If you have any questions specific to sort of the operations of it, these two gentlemen can answer it from a Communications Division perspective. I'd also plan to have my technical expert here today to present in case you had any technical questions that I can't answer. She was actually just called to court on a subpoena. So if we get too technical, I'll come back to you with the answers. But I can give you the basics. So just talking about radio coverage in general across the city, we have actually very excellent coverage across the city. The system that we have was implemented by Motorola. We accepted the radio system in 2001 when our system went completely digital. Our coverage is basically standard across the country for any large city, and that is about 97% of portable coverage when you're talking about being outdoors and about 95% coverage when you're talking about indoors throughout the whole city. The coverage extends beyond city limits, so our radio coverage goes south almost to about Orange County. We go east all the way to the 57 freeway. We go north well past city limits, past Foothill out to Oak Mountain and Mount Lukens.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to understand what the metric is we're talking about. When you say 97% coverage, that means we have the capacity in 90% of the geographic areas. Obviously doesn't mean, well, I'm guessing it doesn't mean that in those areas we have functioning communication 100% of the time. Right? I mean, you're just talking about
there are going to be known weak spots, right, in radio coverage because of just the lay of the land, buildings, mountains, whatever it may be, right? So of the entire city, 97% of that total city square miles is covered with full radio
similar
coverage.
To when I get the advertisements we all get from Verizon and AT&T
Correct.
showing maps of extraordinary coverage, and I know from my own experience that it doesn't always work in those areas. So I just want to understand what the 90% metric is.
Right. Yeah, that's it. And then we go west. Our coverage extends beyond the city into the start of Ventura County as well. So, like I said, it never will be at 100% because of the terrain, mountains, buildings, et cetera. There will always be some places where
Maggie, will you
it could be
define
spotty.
what police radio communication is? Give us a,
Absolutely. We have a Motorola digital, it's called a P25 digital system. We operate on 86, roughly, a few more channels. Most of those are citywide coverage. We do have a number of dispatch channels that are isolated to a specific area. For example, Captain Justice, who was just here, his station is in Topanga. We have an isolated radio tower which covers his station and portions of the West Valley. But the broad number of channels we operate cover the entire city and beyond.
go ahead.
And that's really it. I just wanted to sort of explain coverage in general across the city. My understanding there were some just general questions about coverage. So hopefully that covers it for you. If you do have specific questions, we can always go back to answer those.
Thank you. I'm not familiar with the technology, but I'm guessing radio waves, radio communication is far more expansive and widespread than any other kind of technology for communication. Is that right? So this is optimal over and beyond.
It's a really good radio system, for especially for a metropolitan area with the number of canyons, valleys, mountains, structural obstructions. It's really good coverage.
Access to the system from black and whites, from motorcycle officers, from patrol officers. Keep going.
We have mobile radios, which are installed on all of the police vehicles. Those transmit at a much higher power than a handheld radio. Do you have your handheld on you here real quick?
Let's see if it's working.
Do a quick radio check,
77%.
Commissioner. This is the standard handheld we use. It's a Motorola XTS 5000 handheld. These broadcast at about 5 watts compared to a vehicle radio, which is 45 watts. So you get a much broader transmission capability using a vehicle radio rather than a handheld. However, our radio coverage is based upon handheld outdoor coverage, because this is what they're using most of the time, either here or they'll have a lapel mic.
This is a very rare circumstance that there would be communication difficulties that would obstruct important police activities.
The canyons are the problem,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, and I think maybe explain, the commission reviews all the officer-involved shooting reports, and many times there's communication issues in officer-involved shootings, but a lot of it's because of multiple users trying to use the frequency at the same time and things like that. It's not a coverage, it's a capacity issue. The PSRs can only hear one person at a time, and if they bleed over each other. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Chief. The system does allow one field unit, one handheld radio or one mobile radio at a time to transmit. So, for example, if Ms. Goodrich and I were on a call out in Topanga and we get into a foot chase and I'm broadcasting the location, meanwhile she's backing me up around the corner also trying to broadcast information at the same time I am, she'll get a busy signal. It's a tone that comes across when she tries to transmit. In the heat of the moment when you're chasing someone, oftentimes you don't hear that tone. It's a very low-level tone. So when we go into these use of force review boards, the pursuit review boards, when there's a high number of transmissions that are attempting to come into the radio system, some of those get missed and the officers are unaware that their transmission did not go through on the system.
Thank you. That's really where I was trying to go before. And I appreciate the high quality of the system and commend the department for that. But I am often troubled, as the police chief points out, at the number of times we see in difficult situations when the transmissions are not received and the officers don't even know that. And so that's, I guess, where I was trying to go, was to try to understand whether you have any metrics for, I guess to put it bluntly, how often it doesn't work. Not the coverage, but in those, when it's being used, how often is the transmission not being transmitted, not being received? How often is it that the officers don't know about that? because I see that we all do in the use of force cases. My guess is we all do ride-alongs and fly-alongs, and I'm not sure I've been in a ride-along where there weren't problems. And I don't mean system problems. I understand the quality of the system, but problems in an actual attempt at a transmission where it doesn't go through or the response is inaudible. And my own discussion with officers about that is that that's a fairly frequent problem. So I guess I'm curious, maybe that's just wrong. I hope it is. But I'm curious if you have metrics about that, if you have some way of actually auditing the use of it and how effective it actually is where the rubber meets the road with the officer and the handheld radio.
I don't have metrics on that specifically at hand. I mean, that's certainly something we can go back and look at, but that's kind of...
It will never work if you try to broadcast after somebody else has keyed their mic. It will never work. And so, I have, you know, I've been sharing the same frustration since the first day I got in a car, and it's always been like that. And maybe the better discussion is there a radio system that allows multiple users to, in other words, if Commissioner Saltzman and I are talking right now, you can hear both of us. I mean, it isn't optimal, one can talk at a time. But is there another way, is there another system that could hear multiple people?
So there are a couple things that will be going on in that regard. One is the LA RICS project, which I'm sure you've all heard about, which is the regional interoperability communication system project that's going on. Chief Beck is on the board of that, along with members from the county and other jurisdictions, specifically to address radio functionality and coverage. So all of that is being looked at there. In addition, we are coming up on the last couple years here of our agreement for our existing radio system. So we're actually about to start planning for what the next generation will look like. And that will be something that will be taken into consideration as we plan for the next generation of radio systems.
The time you said
We're in year 6 of a 7-year lease agreement on the radios.
Motorola?
Correct.
Is that what we just approved, this master services agreement?
No, that's a little different. That's for maintenance and services on things related to things like the dispatch system, that type of thing, not necessarily specific to radio. The radios themselves were leased on a 7-year lease, and so we're in year 6 of that, so we'll start planning for what comes next. We're starting that planning now. So this will absolutely be a large consideration in that planning.
Yeah, my question is one of the technology. So usually a number of these manufacturers are really interested in what our problems are, so they can solve them, of course, for us, but also for other department agencies. And my question is this issue, which seems to be so commonplace, do we go back to Motorola and say, hey, you know, this is the problem we're having. What are the solutions? What are you doing? Future research, et cetera, et cetera.
And Motorola's been a good business partner. They participate a lot in conversations like that with us, also in regard to the LA RICS project. And so I know they're continually, through their development process, trying to address the issues that we see operationally.
They're going to want to bid hard and
Absolutely.
strong for the next contract.
Absolutely, yes.
And as a matter of fact, Motorola's rep, Hugh, hi Hugh. Hugh O'Donnell's in the back, and I know he's listening to this, so.
Yeah.
So he's hearing what the commission has to say.
Commissioners, if I also might just interject my 45 years plus in this business, that I can tell you that this is a problem that is universal to all law enforcement agencies.
Absolutely.
If there's 2 people trying to talk on the radio at the same time, you could have it. So whether it's 2 or 2,000 or 3,000, it will happen. It's just the technology and the limitations of technology. And at times, it's the stronger radio. So if it's a car radio that keys up at the same time a handheld, the car radio will get preference because it's putting out more wattage. So it is a universal problem that has affected law enforcement for many, many years.
One of the ways that we try to overcome it is through multiple frequencies.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And so that's why we try to have one division, one frequency, because the officers will tend to know who's working, what they're doing. Sometimes we have to join frequencies, especially because we have shortages of PSRs. what that causes is more users on the same frequency. And that can, that might be something you want to talk about. These are the real life issues that you deal with every day.
Prior to switching to this digital radio system in 2001, we had 2 different police stations that would operate on one frequency, and you could have upwards of 100 units that one dispatcher was responsible for an entire shift. And it was crazy, I'll just be honest. It was very difficult to keep track of all of those units. Transmissions were missed. It was a much worse condition than we're in now. With the onset of this digital system, excuse me, now each particular police station has their own radio frequency. Because of our staffing shortage, we're down 60 plus, 65 maybe by now. Police service representatives and communications division, we just don't have the bodies sometimes to be able to staff each individual dispatcher position.
Sounds like the early days of car phones, really. I mean, that's what it sounds like. Remember
It's just like that.
But I mean, listen, to Motorola, I mean, I can TiVo 5 shows at once. So figure it out. This is something that needs to look at.
I appreciate Mr. Teepank's input here. It might just be a technology limitation, and maybe better technology is the only solution. But if it's not, if it truly is a technology limitation, then our interest is to protect police officers and civilians,
right.
And so maybe it's worth it to put some thought into those situations. When this does happen, when an officer is out there in a dangerous situation, they can't contact other officers. How to troubleshoot that without the technology, without the better technology.
Is there a
How to
plan B for an
troubleshoot
officer can't get through?
Yes.
They pick up their cell phone or what do they do?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the event that a particular radio channel is busy and an officer has an emergency, on each radio, both in the vehicles and their handheld radios, they have a panic button. They press that button, it opens I'm not going to press it, but the orange button right here on top, they'll press that button. It actually opens the microphone on the radio, whether they're using it handheld or they have the mic on their uniform somewhere. It opens that mic for 10 seconds. So if they're down on the ground, they're fighting, they're involved in a physical altercation.
It becomes a party line.
Becomes a party line. It switches that radio to a channel specifically for emergencies only. And it's not uncommon for us to get transmissions on that channel.
Good.
I just want to make one other comment. I appreciate that this is, to a great extent, a technology problem and not unique to this department. But Chief points out that part of the problem has to do with the shortage of the PSRs.
It does.
Who, if I understand correctly, are civilian employees.
Correct.
I'm guessing subject to the hiring freeze, which is why there are roughly 65 vacancies. And so this is not simply a technology problem. This is, in fact, a problem that the department is facing as a result of the department's inability, in this case, to fill those positions. And that's part of why I asked the question, is to make sure each day we're doing this, that we understand the challenges the department faces because of the restraints the department faces. And so that I found that very helpful to hear as well.
Good point.
And we're making a little progress. I think we have 26 PSR hires coming up.
26 or 28, I believe, this
Yeah,
fiscal year.
Coming up in the next fiscal year. So that's not enough, but it's something. We're starting to make forward progress on our civilian vacancies, which is a huge issue.
Good. Thank you. Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We will now go to item number 8B, presentation and discussion relative to the Police Orientation Preparation Program.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Captain Brenda Crump, the commanding officer at Recruit Training Division. I have Sergeant John Amendola next to me, who is the officer in charge of the POP program. We are here this morning to share some information about the Police Orientation and Preparation Program, commonly known as POP, which is located at the Los Angeles Police Department, Osmondson Recruit Training Center. POP is a partnership between the Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles Unified School District, and West LA College. It is a 2-year associate degree program designed to educate and prepare future Los Angeles police recruits. I have a few people here today who will briefly share their role and experience with the program. I would first like to introduce a person who, through her vision, time, and generosity, has made this program possible. The founder and executive director of POP, Roberta Weintraub.
Oh, thank you very much.
Welcome,
Good morning.
Morning, Roberta.
We have good news. Cheer up. I'm talking to you today about POP, Police Orientation Preparation Program, which basically was named by Sandy Jo MacArthur. I'm sorry she's not here this morning, but we give. What? She's in Hawaii?
She's in Hawaii.
Okay, we'll send her the tape. We're really proud of
I'm
what
sure
we're
she's listening live on the call-in line.
on one of her Motorola's, no doubt. I'm really, really, really pleased to be here this morning. I have a passion for education. As most of you know, I was on the school board for 14 years, and you can't survive that without really being passionate about what you're doing. And a long time ago, in 1996, I talked to then Mayor Reardon about creating a program for young people. Right now, we have 4 high schools, 2 junior high schools, and the offshoot of that is POP, which is a training program for young people in grades 12, 13, and 14. And we educate them. Our hope, our fondest hope, is that all of them join the police department. After 2 years with us and then 6 months with the department, it really gives them a better background into what's happening and makes it a less scary event. So I have brought you all a brochure, not a brochure, but a folder. Inside is a great deal of information, including our program, including what is POP, some of the things that have put out. We're raising money. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We're funded. We're really, 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 really making it work. So without further ado, I'm going to sit down, answer any questions that you have, perhaps at the end, and we'll start with the speakers. Thanks very much for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Roberta, when you answer those questions, I want you to come up here and sit next to me because you deserve it.
Oh,
Come on.
I can't do that.
Yes, you can.
No, I can't.
Too modest.
Thank you.
We have some POP students here who will speak. The first one's going to be Aaron Nalud.
Good morning. My name is Aaron Nalud. I'm 20 years old and serve as a squad leader at the Police Orientation and Preparation Program. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I immigrated to the United States when I was 12 years old. I am proud of my heritage, both as a Filipino and soon-to-be United States citizen. During our brief time together, I'll be giving you some background about the Police Orientation Preparation Program, or POP, and what it means to me. The Police Orientation Preparation Program is a unique 2-year program that prepares high school seniors and college students for a career in law enforcement. It consists of a demanding 4-semester college of level academic classes to West Los Angeles College, combined with a rigorous physical training program. Most of the classes we take teach the basics of police science, criminal justice, criminal law, criminal investigation, report writing, psychology, sociology, and many other important subjects that build a foundation for a successful career in law enforcement. I struggled in high school due to the lack of support and discipline, and graduated with a 2.6 grade point average. The POP program has helped me to excel both academically and personally through the guidance of my drill instructors, my professors, and my tutors. At POP, I proudly hold a 4.0 GPA.
Wonderful.
And when I say rigorous physical training, I really mean it. We do not just work out. In addition to the regular training regimen you might find in other programs, we carry around 165-pound dummies, climb walls, fences, and other challenging obstacle courses. We also build teamwork by motivating and helping each other to succeed. I have been offered opportunities to develop and demonstrate leadership, both as a cadet and a squad leader. I believe that POP starts us on the road to building pride. That is, the ability to police responsibly with integrity, dedication, and ethical conduct at all times and in all situations. I am dedicated to the protection of our citizens and their property, the just enforcement of our laws, and the continuation of a civilized society. We invite you to better become acquainted with our program and our cadets by talking to them one-on-one and hearing their experiences. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Our next speaker will be the president of West LA College, Nabil Abu Ghazala.
Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for getting the name right. That's just such a wonderful treat. And good morning to everybody. Just very briefly, the California community colleges, and certainly West LA College, are committed, of course, to preparing our workforce. You know that most police officers, no matter what path they take to the force, are generally trained in the community colleges. Many of them, of course, go on to universities and finish their degrees, but many also start at the community colleges. So your force is our force. This particular program, POP, is a unique opportunity that West is privileged to participate in that we really get to live up to our mission of preparing the workforce, but also recruiting and preparing, young men and women who are, hopefully tracked to work in the police department, but also get a proper education and get guided into a full-time program. It is such a rarity that we can get students focused. And this multi-agency collaboration between the LA Community College District, West LA College, LAUSD, and LAPD is truly a unique program, and as I say, a privilege. I had the opportunity to start with this program 3 years before I started at West LA College when I was working at another college. And I can tell you it is one of those programs that as an educator, I sort of, wake up in the morning thinking, how can we do more of this? But ultimately, the goal of the program is to prepare our young men and women for the workforce. And in this particular case, even though this is not a police academy program, and we all know the difference, this particular program prepares intelligent, thinking people who are disciplined in mind and body to, get out and hopefully get old enough because they're ready sooner than you're ready for them, frankly. Anyway, again, thank you for the partnership with the community colleges, and I hope in the coming months to start discussing expanding the program, frankly.
And the students get credits at your college.
Absolutely.
For the classes that they're taking.
For the classes they take that are college classes, yes.
College classes towards a 2 or 4 year degree.
That is correct. They are creditable courses towards whatever transfer function or associate degree they choose to complete.
Now, some of the students are in high school.
Most of them are.
They
yes.
are. And
yes.
they're getting college credits while they're in high school.
Yes, indeed.
Wonderful.
It is absolutely legitimate to get to the students and make them college students before they leave high school. I've been doing this. I did it as an educator at a different college, as a teacher. I had even sophomores in high school. I taught drafting, very different field. But, when they're ready, frankly. And the success rates in this program are phenomenal compared to any program in higher education, frankly. It beats out the college. It beats out the community college averages. It is better than the Cal State and UC success rates because it is a focused cohort program and has all the supports that educational programs require. Frankly, if we could do what we do with this program across the board, we would have just the most successful community college system in the country. And it's not a huge amount of resource, but we have just the right support. Thanks, Roberta.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time. We have a question?
Yes. How many of your graduates actually apply to LAPD and make it through training and become officers?
That's
yet. I know it's
right.
a new program.
Right. I'm going to leave the answer for that to my successors, but yes.
If I could distinguish commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity. We currently have 2 officers in the field. They passed probation. They were a great test case for the department. We have 6 that are in the pipeline that will join in the next 6 or 7 months. They're eligible now to, they're in backgrounds. And from the classes graduating, we'll probably have about 10 actual, viable, ready-to-go candidates that can join the department. And then in the year to come, we're looking more to 15 or 20.
Out of how many?
Out of every class of 50 graduates. So some join other departments because those are available. But of course, we want them to wear blue in this nice blue band that I was handed by the fine sergeant. So. We want them all to be in LAPD blue, and we're pretty excited about the success rate and the future success rate.
We're in our 5th year, just beginning.
Doing a great job. Okay, good. Let's keep going.
All right.
Our next speaker will be one of our cadet students, Daryl Jackson.
Welcome, Daryl.
Hello, sir. All right.
You in shape, Daryl?
I try, sir. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daryl Jackson, and I am 19 years old. I graduated from Cerritos High School with a mindset on becoming a Los Angeles police officer. At the age of 2, I always wanted to be like my dad, Police Officer 3, Southwest Division, Daryl Jackson, and my cousin, Police Officer 3+1, Chief Charlie Beck's driver, Andre Clancy.
Did you know that?
Security aid.
Yeah.
I drive myself. Thank you.
All right. After high school, I enrolled at the Long Beach City College with the hopes and dreams of earning my Associates of Arts degree in criminal justice. However, I was unable to get classes due to an overcrowded campus. Yet, eager and determined for higher education, my dad called me one morning and told me about a program called POP. He said that the program would help prepare me for the police department and to allow me to experience firsthand what it means to be a Los Angeles police recruit. The POP program is amazing in so many ways. For example, while sharpening your physical condition, we're also taking criminal justice courses with prior to registration, and are also gaining college units towards our Associates of Arts degree in criminal justice. I was thrilled and excited for the opportunity to be among some of the finest officers in the police department. I now know I'm in a position to learn leadership, teamwork, and integrity. I believe that the POP program has set the foundation for the next chapter in my life, which is to become a Los Angeles police officer and work side by side with the best officers in the world. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any questions of Daryl? Anyone?
Thank you.
Good job.
Next, we have Jeff Burgess, Education Director of POP in LA Unified School District.
I'd like to start off, excuse me, fighting this cold. I come to the program with about 30 years of law enforcement experience. When I retired, I was going to go into education, and I started at Monroe Police Academy Magnet in 2002. Along about 2009, Roberta said, can you do a feasibility study for POP? We'll make a long story short. Any of you have dealings with Roberta, she's very persuasive, and you cannot say no. So we started the POP program and started with 13 high school seniors and 18 college students in 2009. If you can imagine all of you going back to your senior year in high school, you've decided to go to community college, and your senior year in high school is going to be party time and kicking back and relaxing. What do we offer you at POP? Come to our program as a senior in high school, and when you graduate from high school, not only will you have a high school diploma, you will have 1 year of college. And the way we've done this is we take the high school seniors, they take concurrent classes. And the way we structured this program is 1 year after graduating from high school, all of you will have a 2-year AA degree done. And I tell the prospective students that everybody that they graduated from high school with will have struggling to get college classes. You'll already have an AA degree. Part of what the school district does, and I represent the LA Unified School District as the teacher of record, we have our goal of making all of our students college prepared and career ready. This is the quintessential program. All of our students graduate, they are college prepared and career ready. We transition them to private security jobs. We make sure that they're trained as such, and we give them pathways. So it's a marvelous program. Everybody that's involved in the program is in it for the right reasons, and that's for the betterment of our future, and those are the children of Los Angeles. You have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next cadet speaker, Christina Barrientos.
Morning, police commissioners.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Christina Barrientos, and I am a squad leader at the Police Orientation and Preparation Program. At POP, I am not just a squad leader, I am also a motivator. I motivate each and every single cadet into pushing themselves past their limits and past their expectations. What brought me to POP is my ongoing motivation and desire to increase my intelligence. I am also there in the hopes of becoming a Los Angeles police officer. During our brief time together, I will be drawing you a picture that will describe what the POP program means to me, what it has done for me, and what it will do for future cadets. This is my second year in the program, and I can honestly say that it has changed me. I am now a leader. Before, I kept all thoughts and ideas to myself. I thought, every man for himself. But as time elapsed, I realized that in the field of police work, no one is an individual. Today, I lead my squad with pride. I help them out there on the PT field, and I'm not just talking about your ordinary PE class. As my classmate said, we carry 165-pound dummies. We have to go through a rigorous obstacle course. We run multiple mile runs, push-ups, sit-ups, and a lot more. I also lead my squad in our academic studies. This semester, for example, we encountered a geography class. It was very difficult. Our professor had high expectations of us, soon-to-be police officers, and his teaching style was definitely not making things any easier. So, being the leader that I am, I took initiative. Every day, for 2 weeks, I tutored my classmates, and when test day came, 15 students who failed received passing grades. My experience at POP has left me hopeful for other kids, people just like me, who thrive upon a goal, who have dreams, but absolutely no resources to chase them. But this program, POP, it's a really good program. It can do so much. It is the only program across America to provide and give students the opportunity to earn their degree, while at the same time train alongside with outstanding police officers. To me, POP means being able to succeed. It is a pathway towards a life full of success. POP mentors me. It has nurtured me into the bright young leader that I am today. So let us therefore continue to be great to this program. For every day of our lives, we will be thankful. And for everything that we take with us, there is always something that we leave behind. So I ask for you today to just remember my name, remember this program, and remember my cadets, because they too will achieve greatness thanks to this program. Thank you. Any questions?
I know a couple of people who are 165-pound dummies, and I'd like to send them over there to have you work on them a little bit.
Our next speaker is Director of Tutoring, who works with our POP program, Eric Brock.
Good morning. My name is Eric Brock, and I'm the administrator of the tutoring program at POP. I'm also an instructor in English here, as well as at West Los Angeles College. Now, as you've heard, students here at POP go through a rigorous daily training schedule, which begins at 6 in the morning with the raising of the colors, followed by 90 minutes of physical training and 3 more hours of classes, all before lunch. At POP, students are expected to master not only the basics of criminal justice in preparation for their police work, but also all the other academic material required to earn their high school diplomas and their associate's degrees as well. That means English, math, sciences, and more. And that's where we tutors come in. The tutoring program is essential to POP students' success. For 3 hours a day, every day, the students meet as a class with our tutoring staff. Now, we use the word tutor, but the function we perform is really that of in-house instructors. In some instances, we do simply assist students with homework, but far more often what we do is teach students material, either in dovetail with or in preparation for their academic coursework. As an example, this semester, students benefited from additional lectures and Q&A sections with our tutors in geography and sociology, both courses being taught by outside professors. Now, this affords us an opportunity to ensure students' mastery of the material, and it also presents an alternative pathway to remediation, eliminating the need for costly repeated instruction. Additionally, we provide students with rigorous instruction in our own in-house courses in mathematics, grammar, and essay writing in preparation for what we know is to come: college algebra, freshman English, and at program's end, the LAPD entrance exam. At the end of the day, the point of our program is to help students grow into the best and best prepared candidates possible. And the tutoring program accomplishes that goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rebecca Neary. She's a principal researcher at UCLA who is evaluating our POP program.
Hello, good morning.
My name is Rebecca Neri, and I am a graduate student researcher from the University of California, Los Angeles, also known as UCLA. I work under the advisement of Dr. Kim Gomez, who is the head of the Urban Schooling Division, and Dr. Luis Gomez, who is both a senior fellow at the Carnegie Research Center and the the chair of the Department of Education. We work as a team called Improvement by Design, and we are currently conducting a developmental evaluation of the POP program. We hope that our insight can both help POP continue to reach its aims and also target areas for development and improvement. In the short time I have been there, it has truly been an honor and a privilege to be a part of the program. I have witnessed a very high and admirable level of commitment and passion to developing these young men and women into qualified and prepared and enthusiastic future applicants to the LAPD. I have also been welcomed with open arms by every member of the POP staff. They have been open to any and all suggestions that will improve student outcomes. Going back to the students, I would like to say that it is really refreshing to see such a high level of responsibility that they've taken for their education and their career goals. And finally, I'm really looking forward to, on behalf of UCLA, continuing to foster this relationship we have with the POP program. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Our last speaker is Charles Buck Stapleton, Professor Chair, Behavioral Social Science Division at West LA College.
Well, thank you and good morning. First of all, I'm a former Los Angeles police officer, and a couple of years ago I got a cell phone call, and the person said, "Buck, this is Roberta." And I only knew one Roberta, and I said, why are you calling? And she said, the chancellor gave me your phone number. And being a former police officer and a lieutenant colonel in the military reserve, I understand chain of command. So I said, how can I help you? And she said, we're having a meeting in about 15 minutes over at the Los Angeles Unified School District headquarters. Please find parking and come on over. And so I did. And at that time, Sandy Jo MacArthur, Jeff Burgess, and myself came together with Roberta to carve out the POP program. I want to give you a couple of statistics. I'm chairman of Behavioral Social Sciences. I oversee 12 disciplines at West Los Angeles College. And so when we set up the program, we moved existing economics, sociology, political science, history professors over to the LA Police Academy. We brought an existing program. This wasn't designed any different for police officers, plumbers, or physics majors. We took an existing academic program and moved it over. Today we have approximately 244 students have completed the program. Out of that, 60 are now either employed in sworn positions in law enforcement or they're in the pipeline. For example, our former class leader at the Academy, Trent Welker, father is a former lieutenant on the Sheriff's Department, retired. His mother is a captain with Burbank Police. He heard about POP, joined up, and now he's in advanced placement with LAPD. He's probably 2 months away from appointment. Of the 60 that are employed, we have approximately 12 that are in active duty law enforcement positions. The reason they have sought employment elsewhere is because currently we, LAPD, we don't have something for someone less than 21 years of age. And so other agencies are picking up our career-ready graduates, as you heard from my president and from Roberta. So hopefully we can find a way, either through a reserve placement or something, to capture these young men and women as they graduate. Education, they take a full UC transfer or AA degree program. We brought the tutoring in as a result of my experience at the main campus. Students are not studying. They don't understand what they are reading. They are ill-prepared in high school. And so a cohort gives us a chance to actually capture these young men and women and give them the tools and teach them the skills that they need to be successful. Many of them are on the dean's list. Please, I would like to invite you, if you haven't been over there, to come over and walk the halls and look at our honor graduates and look at the graduates that are out there. It's my pleasure to be here. I hope you'll join me in expanding the program as we're all prepared to do. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation. Are there any other questions?
We have one public comment card. We have Mr. Jabral Mohammed.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Roberta, I'd like you to summarize at the end. Will you?
Morning, Commissioners, Chief. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed listening to how we're interfacing, and that's pretty much my concern. Of course, Bismillah the Justice Movement. I'm Jabril Muhammad, speaking for Bismillah the Justice Movement. West Los Angeles College, being in the primary African American community, I would like very much to get a response from the community itself as to how it's being affected by all of our programs that we are presenting as a community to the community. And that's pretty much my concern, and I'm not getting, how can I say, a bare bones vibration from members of the public as to how the public is being impacted by the policies of the administration. The outreach, I don't see the members of the public responding as a result of the outreach in regards to these programs. I look around and I don't think the, how can I say, the economic profile or the racial profile in terms of the communities we serve are not represented. And so, you know, it's in keeping with the good spirit of the effort to be just and the effort for justice. It's always good to hear good reports. But it seems to be so one-sided, and I have to give comment in that regard. So no disrespect to everyone's efforts and the energies that we're putting forth, but we want to see more response from the bare bones, grassroots community, public at large. And then I think we'll get an honest temperature, social temperature as to how successful we are.
We do have one more public comment card. We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
I don't know whether the mystique or the R's the LAPD has still continues, but this department has a reputation as worldwide, and I think you're all familiar with that. And as far as recruitment is concerned, that might be the biggest aspect that will provide these young personnel to come here, because they understand if they go to San Diego, California, they can get a lot more money. And if they choose to stay with the LAPD, it would be because of the mystique and the history of this department that they elect to disregard the huge amount of money they would make in San Diego if they're still recruiting as to what they make here. Now, I asked a question some time ago, why doesn't the LAPD have an arm patch? I've never noticed any other agency without that. My response was very arrogant and perhaps a joke, but they say, because we are the police. And for that reason, they don't need an arm patch. So I hope that these young people will join the department. I am much more inclined to welcome students than military veterans. We had a veteran cause quite a bit of problems. He was a Navy vet. Maybe that's the problem. But anyway, I think that the department has to do a PR campaign to make sure that personnel like this will come in, people like these young students will come into the department. The task is up to the department to maintain that attractiveness that it had for so many years. Thank you.
And there are no other comment cards, Mr. President.
Roberta, do you want to summarize?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, first of all, Steve, thank you for coming out. You were such a hit with the kids. I mean, he really is, he's a pipe piper for young people. Yeah, if you haven't seen him entertain them, you must, because he's very special. I want to thank Charlie Beck, our chief, very much for continuing on with the process. I know that Chief Bratton was chief in charge at that time, but thank God you've been with us all along, and I really appreciate it. You've been a really great supporter. For those of you who haven't come out to see our program, please do. Anytime, any place, we're open. Any day that we're open, you're welcome. We don't prepare for your opening or your being there. We are ready at all times. And I really have a passion for this, and I think no one should be in this kind of work without that kind of passion. Because if you really don't want to teach young people and you don't want them to succeed, find something else to do. Everybody who works with us really cares, and I'm looking at them and everybody in this room because there isn't a person involved with this program that doesn't care and doesn't want us to succeed. I know LAPD has had a problem recruiting. We're trying to help you with that as best we can, and you're helping with us, taking our young people and making them into great police officers. After 2.5 years, 2 years with us, 6 months with you, and training on the site, I think we'll have the best department. We'll continue to have the best department in the country. That's my goal. I hope it's yours.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Roberta.
much for the presentation. I just
Go ahead.
questions. Really incredible program, so inspirational. So I'm wondering what efforts are underway for expansion and what kinds of resources are required for that. And I have a second question.
Yes, we're definitely on the way. I'd like to turn it over to our sergeant, if I can, to tell you about our plans for the future.
Very, very briefly, because we've absorbed quite a bit of the distinguished time of the commissioners, is we're looking to gravitate towards a night program so that we can use our facility with better proportion. That way we can balance a day and a night class, go from 19 to 23-year-olds so that they're academy ready right out the door. So we're looking at 2 bridge programs now, and it looks like it'll be very successful.
200. We're looking at 200 young people to train. We do intensive training. We were just talking about the tutoring program. That is where I raise money from the outside, so far successfully, and the tutors are paid for privately, and there's no way that the program works without them. They are, college instructors who come to work with our kids and make such a difference in their lives. You've met some of our young people. Most of the others look just as good as they do, but these are the ones who come down to speak to you today.
And the students that do not ultimately enter the LAPD or don't end up having that goal, where do they go? Generally,
They go into other law enforcement related careers. We have many at the TSA. They're working at the universities in security. They're working in mall security, and believe it or not, they've surpassed their superiors and now are their supervisors already. It's pretty impressive.
Also want to point out that Roberta was one of the first donors, financial donors to the on-body camera program, which was much
Whatever
appreciated.
you want, Steve, just call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. You're an angel.
Okay, we are now moving to 8D. Department's verbal report and presentation and discussion relative to Metropolitan Division Mounted Unit.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners. That's a very hard act to follow. My name is Vito Palazzolo. I'm one of the captains of Metropolitan Division. With me are Lieutenant Anthony Lomedico. He's the officer in charge of the LAPD Monoplatoon, and Officer Bob Valdez, one of the trainers at the Monoplatoon. A few weeks ago, my partner, Captain Patrick Smith, did a presentation for you regarding K-9, and he gave you some folders with some information about K-9. I've got new folders here for you that gives a little description about Metropolitan Division and all of our other specialized platoons. So I'll hand these out to you so you have updated information. Anyway, our presentation here today is regarding the Monoplatoon, and police on horseback date back as far as there have been police. However, in modern LAPD history, the Metropolitan Division Monoplatoon has its roots back in the 70s and early 80s. That period in our history was marked by numerous confrontations between police and demonstrators, demonstrating against various political and social issues. Frequently, these demonstrations, during these demonstrations, police as well as demonstrators will end up being injured, subsequently raising risk management concerns for the department and the city. The department believed at that time that the use of horses in crowd control situations could reduce the need for physical force to control demonstrators, resulting in a reduction of injuries and litigation. In 1981, a group of officers who were also horse enthusiasts were allowed to form a voluntary part-time unit using their own horses and equipment as a pilot program to test the theory. The pilot program was successful and soon grew to include horse deployments for search and rescue, operations in rugged terrain, crime suppression in areas where having an elevated view provided an advantage. For example, parking lots, events with large crowds, or busy city streets congested with pedestrian traffic. In 1987, the pilot program was formalized into a full-time unit and was incorporated into Metropolitan Division as the modern-day mounted platoon. Today's mounted platoon is staffed by 1 lieutenant, 3 sergeants, 26 police officers, 3 equine keepers, and 30 horses. The mounted platoon works out of a facility at the Atwater area of Los Angeles, and it's referred to as the Amundsen Equestrian Facility. This is a 2-acre state-of-the-art equestrian center which consists of a 40-horse barn, administrative offices, locker rooms, work-off facility, covered riding area, a hot walker, a round pen, and all the necessary training equipment to train our officers and horses. As I mentioned, we have 30 horses currently, and the breed of horse that is most frequently utilized are the gelding quarter horses. These horses are known for their calm temperament and are a universal breed in size. We also have a number of trucks and various size horse trailers that are used to transport our horses to the various locations throughout the city. The training for the mounting platoon consists of a 200 hours mounted course that focuses on basic and advanced riding skills, crowd control tactics, search and rescue, and mounted tactics. The platoon, or the officers in the platoon, after they go through the initial 200-hour course, then train at minimum at twice a month to maintain the riding proficiency. The horses are trained on a daily basis. Trainers work with the horses every day with an emphasis on sensory environments for which they will be deployed. Funding for our horses primarily comes from the Los Angeles Mounted Police Foundation. That is how our horses are purchased. The average cost of a horse is between $3,500 and $8,500. On average, we purchase 2 horses per year. The service life of a horse is much greater than a car. It's 10 to 18 years. The department budget pays for the upkeep of the horses and the upkeep of the facility. How do we find our horses? Mostly through word of mouth, or our trainers search through classified ads in horse trader magazines and other industry magazines. Once we find a horse that looks like will meet our needs, we evaluate the horse for 30 days before being accepted and made part of the mounted platoon. And during the 30 days, the horse goes through a trial period, various tests, including environmentally sensory tests, to ensure that the horse can be trained to be part of the platoon. The mounted platoon is a great tool for community outreach as well. Horses are great ambassadors for the department. A number of times a year, the mounted platoon takes part in events that bridge our officers with the community. We have a program called the Mini Mounted Community Outreach Program, which provides children opportunity to go to field trips to various events, a 2-day riding camp, actually riding in our horses, and this provides a positive interaction between the police and the children. We have a very close working relationship with one of the elementary schools in the area, the Leo Politi Elementary School. Another community outreach which we will take part on this year is that our mounted platoon will ride along with Chief Charlie Beck in the Rose Parade on January 1st. This is an opportunity to internationally showcase our mounted platoon and exemplifies the professionalism of the LAPD. And that's basically it, sir.
Question, anyone? From experience, it's worth a visit. Chief, you got a comment on the, too much.
Well, you know, until you see the mounted unit work, you don't really appreciate the value of having good cops on horseback. They do a tremendous amount of proactive police work. They're all really good cops. Some of them can ride a little bit, but they're all really good cops. And I'm just really proud of them. When I was, I think I really learned their value when I was the captain at Central. And, you know, they were, without a doubt, the most effective crime suppression tool that I had. And so they're just tremendous, great people. Commander Peters is back. He's nodding. He's former mounted unit. And you know, that's one of the other things is that a lot of leadership. You know, they show a tremendous amount of leadership within the department, and many of them go on to other positions.
I know we have a new group of commissioners in the commission. You are welcome to come and take a look at our facility and take a look at our capabilities, not just for the Mounted Platoon, but all the specialized entities within Metropolitan Division. We do very specialized work, and it's always a pleasure and a good opportunity to showcase what we're about and what we're able to do.
Gentlemen, any comments?
Yes, I have a comment. It's nice to be here today, and we're enthused by your visit, Mr. Sobroff and Ms. Figueroa last week, and we encourage you to come to our facility and take a look. We'll give you a tour and also explain how we conduct business. It's a very fascinating thing to look at. I think you'd be encouraged by the amount of interaction we have with the community, especially the youth of the community as well. So please come.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
We will now move to item 8F, Department's Report dated December 6, 2013, relative to the First Amendment to the agreements between the City of Los Angeles and RMI International, Inc., contract number 120938, and North American Security, Inc., contract number 120937, and G4S Secure Solutions USA, Inc., contract 122078 for security guard services.
Yeah, you know, the reason that I called it special was that each of the contracts, these are big contracts, and I just wanted to get a little bit of a history of you know, is this a permanent thing that's going to be going on? Is it something that we're going to be weaning ourselves of over a long period of time? Is it something that comes into the city, or is it working perfectly the way it is? Because these are big, you know, these are big numbers.
Maggie Goodrich,
it's a big job.
CIO for the LAPD. I can give you some background on the contracts,
sure.
And then I'll let Commander Sherman and Captain Sanders speak to operationally how this works. But these contracts came to us actually from General Services. So this was part of the transition when OPS was brought over and Security Services Division was created. So these vendors that provide the security guard services were actually selected via procurement process that GSD actually handled at the time. So these contract amendments are just to exercise options to extend the contracts each by a year that were put into the original contract, and then also just to transfer the administration of the contracts from General Services into the LAPD. I know I'm usually here for technology purposes, but I also manage all the contracts for the department as well. These contract amendments are to do those two things. As far as how the security guards are dispatched and the need for them and all of that, I'll let Commander Sherman and Captain Sanders speak to that.
Approximately 211 security officers, some of which are part-time or half-time employees. We have about 300 employees within Security Services Division, and they provide citywide security to a number of places that have been established by needs within the city over time. These two, when we cannot meet those deployment needs, is when we reach out to contract security, which is what this contract is for. And that occurs on a number of reasons. One, based on our deployment needs or our personnel needs. And secondly, if a department has a specific need. The easiest example might be a park would have a carnival over a 4-day weekend, and the director of Rec and Parks would say, we'd like to hire some security officers to provide security for this carnival. In which case we would then we would arrange, Security Services Division would go through the logistical aspects of getting those security people out to that.
So the budget, the money for it comes from the requester.
In some cases it does, and in some cases
we provide it.
In some cases it comes out of our budget. There are two separate budgets more than two, but it might come from the department that requests it or come from the fund that is set aside for Chief Beck.
So these are they're not to exceed. They're for situations where we're not handling it with the internal groups, correct?
Either by our existing assignments. A common example would be Bureau of Sanitation. We provide security to a number of water treatment plants around the city of Los Angeles. Some of those are staffed by contract security, in addition to our officers that are employed full-time by the city of Los Angeles. And additional things. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of posts that need to be, security needs to be provided for.
My last question is, what's the interface between our officers and which may be 3 or 4, and then the group of security people that's being hired by sanitation or rec and parks?
Good morning. So the way that this kind of works is we have deployment at different sites, and if we don't have, let's say somebody calls in sick, we'll call for contract security to fulfill that spot. There's generally there will be supervisors at the sites, or the watch commander from out of the division will provide the oversight to the different locations out there. There's over 400 parks. There's over 4 Bureau of Sanitation sites. There's several libraries, 72 libraries. So it could be at any one of these locations that you might fall short. There's supervision that's provided off hours out of the division to provide that kind of information. There's also what we call post orders, and so the security companies that backfill these locations go off the post orders, and it's basically a direction on what's required at that assignment. Then the security companies themselves are also tasked with on-site supervision at every watch and every deployment.
Questions, anyone? Yes, Sandra.
Curiosity. Our officers that are off duty, do they get hired by some of these companies to do work?
Good question.
On the side, make extra money?
I'm not aware of any.
Appropriate or not appropriate?
I don't think that it would be inappropriate. I don't know of any that are.
As a huge general rule in the city, officers do work off duty for various employers, but we don't necessarily do that through GSD or through the old GSD contracts. This is a little different. That might be something we look at later, further down the road. The commission has to remember, this is all fairly new to us. We're really adopted what the model GSD had here, and we'll work on the little tweaks to it as we move forward.
Excuse me, Chief, many of the security officers are unarmed. They're security officers, and they're not authorized to carry a firearm, so a police officer wouldn't necessarily fit into that assignment.
And the price point's much lower. It's all about security. There's a number of tiers in security.
Sure.
And they're not all the same.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion to move approval of item number F?
Move in second here.
You move to approve item 8F.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
We'll now move to item 8J, Executive Director's Report dated December 5th, 2013, relative to the review and transmittal of the request for proposal for official police garage towing and storage services.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Coming to the table to assist me with this is Chris Waters, the Lieutenant Commanding Officer, Commission Investigation Division, Detective 3 Ben Jones, who is the coordinator, amongst other duties he has, of the Official Police Garage Program, and Deputy City Attorney Mr. Kreinbring, who has assisted us through the preparation of the RFP. I'll give a brief overview, then turn it over to Lieutenant Waters and Detective Jones to give you some more background. But briefly, the Board of Police Commissioners through Commission Investigation Division is the contract administrator for the 18 service area general duty tow contracts that are administered and the single heavy-duty tow contract. That responsibility involves the insurance that the selected contracted vendor provides the appropriate level of service to LAPD and the Department of Transportation, who are the two primary clients, but any other city entity which utilizes the tow contract services. The original contracts that were let are for a 5-year period of time with an option for a second 5-year extension. The staff report before you identifies the official police garage areas whose service contracts will expire over the outlined time frame. What we are attempting to do this time, because of the number of contracts that will expire, is bring to you one report with a generic RFP, which will be individually tailored when it is released for the specific service area, that we would then have the board approve and then transmit to the city council. City council would approve, and then we would not have to come back multiple times. It would just be one time. And each contract, as I said, or excuse me, each RFP that would go out would be custom tailored to that service area. So with that brief background, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Waters and Detective Jones, and then I know Mr. Kreinbring has some information he'd like to pass on to the commission also.
Thank you, Mr. T-Fank. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lieutenant Chris Waters, the Commanding Officer of your Commission Investigation Division. The official police garage system has been around since 1936, and the selection process has evolved over time. Prior to the mid-1990s, the OPGs were selected by Commission staff. During that time period, the court ordered the city to utilize a competitive process to select the OPGs. The city developed the Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 80.77.4, which outlined the city's competitive process. Due to an additional series of lawsuits, the process was delayed until 2000. Originally, the ordinance envisioned a staggered 4-year process to award the contracts. However, due to the aforementioned lawsuits, all of the contracts were awarded in 2004, and subsequently, each OPG received a 5-year renewal, with the exception of Hollenbeck area, which was awarded prior to the lawsuits, which leads us to today. This will be the first time that the remaining official police garage contracts will go back into the competitive process. Here to describe the competitive process is Detective 3 Ben Jones, CID's OPG coordinator.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Once the RFP is released, we'll get it out to the industry and try to solicit vendors to come and apply for the contract. Once we receive those RFPs, they'll come to the Commission. Commission Investigation Division will fact check their proposals and actually conduct a background investigation of the proposers. We'll forward that information to the commanding officer of CID without a recommendation, but simply a factual report, transcribed interviews, things for the selection committee. With the concurrence of the CO, that will be sent to a selection committee. The selection committee will consist of a member of the Department of Transportation, City Administrative Officer's Office, and a police commission staffer. From that point, the selection committee will make a recommendation to the executive director for an awardee. With the concurrence of the executive director, that recommendation will be forwarded to the police commission for additional concurrence for recommendation. From that point, the police commission will forward it to the public safety committee at the city council for concurrence, and onward from there to the full city council and the mayor. At that point, the award will be made and the contract will be drawn up. The city attorney's office will approve it as to form, and then that contract will be delivered to the president to execute on behalf of the commission. That's just a brief overview of the process.
That was my exact question, because the process was not a part of this report, and I wondered what it was, and that answers my question.
And the process has been codified in the Los Angeles Municipal Code.
I can tell.
Thanks.
With that, we'd like to have Mr. Kreinbrink talk about some of the process as it relates to the RFP process once it does hit the street.
Thank you, Mr. T-Fank. Excuse me. I just wanted to emphasize that we added a couple sections to this RFP to kind of provide safeguards to preserve the integrity of the process. One is we specifically direct all proposers not to communicate with city staff nor commissioners. Good. It's a very important aspect of this process. And if one of them somehow does attempt to engage in conversations, please refrain from engaging in it. One other thing I want to bring to your attention is, prior to being given a formal recommendation and to be voting on it as a commission, Municipal Code 49.5.17 actually speaks to commissioners not engaging in conversation. It says specifically, No member of a commission shall participate in or otherwise be involved in the development, review, evaluation, negotiation, and recommendation process of bids, proposals, or any other submittals or requests for the award of a contract, contract amendment, or change order involving that board, commission, office, or department. And that is, in essence, to protect the integrity of the process. So I just want to bring that to your attention because there's a lot of RFPs, there's going to be a lot of competitors, and we just need to preserve this process.
Good, that's helpful.
And just to expand on that, when the recommendation ultimately comes from me to the Board of Police Commissioners for your decision, at that time, it would be very appropriate for any member of the public who has submitted a proposal to stand before you and speak about their proposal. There's also an appeal process, which they would have the opportunity, if they were not selected, to speak about that appeal process. The appropriate place to do that is before the entire body of the Board of Police Commissioners considering the item, and that's the place that would take place.
Very helpful. Thank you. Rob, are you going to call this one out, or did I?
No, I just thought this was pretty good to understand the
Okay, good,
process and
good.
the restrictions.
Any other questions? Oh,
Mr. Teagan, I just have a couple of other things. Once
Sure.
I read RFPs all the time, and it drives me crazy when they don't follow the format.
that's her hobby.
But under 17.0, you need to add 17.7 in the RFP. You have 17.6 in the table of contents. And everything, one more, and then that's it.
Do you have a second one?
I have one more.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
one more.
That's good. Helpful.
41, under 41.0. Actually. You have, you need to add 48.3.
48 point.
Just those two.
Do you know where, are you guys
It's
hearing?
just,
Where were those?
when people respond or when you go to the bidders conference and it doesn't follow.
No, I just wonder if you heard her specific.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
We got it. Thank you. And also, I want to thank Commissioner Figueroa Villa. She made a couple of catches for us on the table of contents and prepared that. We will provide a corrected copy to the board secretary, which will be part of the transmittal to the city council when it leaves here.
And just for clarification, too, each one of these is going to be customized for each RFP, and we will go over those again line by line for each one.
This is a template.
Right.
Okay, good. Good idea. We have a motion for approval of item 8K.
Move approval.
8J.
J. Move approval of item 8J.
Second?
Oh, yeah, J. Second?
Second.
All in favor, 8J? Aye. Thank you.
Okay, we are now on item 8K. 8K, Inspector General's Report dated December 10, 2013, relative to the Ethics Enforcement Quarterly Reports Calendar Year 2012.
Thank you, Commissioners. At table for my office is Assistant Inspector General Kevin Rogan. As the Commission may remember, the Department Ethic Enforcement Section does quarterly audits on the Department in an assortment of areas to assess the Department personnel's compliance with certain integrity aspects of the job. In 2012, there were a total of 72 audits performed by this section. There were 43 integrity audits and 29 complaint intake audits. What my office does is we perform a review of these quarterly reports, these quarterly audits, and we take a sample of the different categories of audits that they perform, and we assess them for completeness and accuracy and make whatever recommendations we think are appropriate to keep the high level of investigation that section does. Just as a way of background, the EES performs integrity audits and complaint intake audits. And the integrity audits are broken down, as we've noted in our report, into 3 different categories: specific, random, and special operations. Specific is just that. It targets a particular individual. Random is going to target potential behavior and see if there's issues with regard to compliance without focusing on a specific individual or specific area. And special operations involves covert surveillance
at a particular location to assess whether misconduct is actually occurring if it's suspected. The complaint intake audit is just that. It's designed to determine whether department personnel are taking citizens' complaints and processing that, and they have a audit feature to examine whether that's actually occurring. When we took our sample and examined all the different categories, what we found was that ES's audits were generally complete and accurate. We had 2 recommendations which are detailed at the end of our audit or our review on page 5, but overall the quality was quite high. And subject to any questions that you may have, Assistant Inspector General Kevin Rogan and myself are prepared to answer them.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Well, I was trying to formulate the question, yeah, thanks for that background and this interesting audit. And so one of the recommendations was to reclassify 2 of these incidents from failed to inconclusive. And so I was just wondering what then is the follow-up from that? If something is categorized as inconclusive, then is that sort of close the case, or does that uncertainty then call for further action? That's my question.
That probably depends. From our auditing standpoint, that will pretty much close the case. I'll let Captain Lopez comment on particular things that they might.
Hernandez.
I'm sorry, Captain Hernandez. Paul. I'll let him comment on specific steps they might do. But for us, especially on these type, both of those recommendations were fairly minor. And we're satisfied that simply discussing these issues with Paul's personnel will resolve the issues for us.
And to answer your question, ma'am, yes, Paul Hernandez is my name. I am the commanding officer of Special Operations Division. And on occasion, we do agree with the Inspector General's office, and we will change the final classification. On this occasion, there was some insight that wasn't detailed in the final report. It was a conversation that led us to remain with the failed versus the inconclusive. And that was a conversation between myself and the commanding officer of that particular division that was audited. So, yes, we do change our recommendations. I'd say a majority of the time we agree to change it based on their recommendation. But on occasion, we do, stand fast.
Mm-hmm. And I'd add really that the discussions we have are often of minor issues. As noted in the report, these audits have been going on since '04. The unit works at a high degree of proficiency. You may know that we at one point did quarterly reports, quarterly audits, but it was sort of an exercise because their work is of high quality, so we now only audit them annually. And even at that, we're discussing whether to continue at the annual rate because they really perform at a high level.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay. We have a motion for.
Well, excuse me, Mr. President, we do have 2 comment cards. We have Mr. Ted Hayes.
I probably have a campaign to debunk the so-called notion of any kind of control over the police department through the Inspector General's office or Internal Affairs. First of all, Internal Affairs conducts this inquiry with the person complaining about the department in the lobby next to a statue of Charlie Chaplin sitting on a bench. They don't take you to an office. They don't record what you're saying. They have you doing it in the lobby of the Bradbury building. Go there and check it out. Now, I've been trying for quite some time, and I'm not surprised, I'm not discouraged by it, because I know how this department operates when it comes to complaints. They do not seriously take complaints. I complained about not being fed at the Metropolitan Detention Center. The latest word I got was, we have no record of you ever being in the Metropolitan Detention Center. You're never in custody there. Now, I don't know how any other normal person would respond, but I didn't take that as a shocking surprise because it's risen to a level now that most people involved in this situation, recognizing I had not been fed and had passed out and various other things, as attempted murder. Not only that, torture. So these things that I've been complaining about, and I think I'm symptomatic of most people living in this city, have been totally disregarded. They don't exist. It's a fantasy world. This is Twilight Zone. Never in custody? Of course, I was there twice, but they have no record of my ever being in custody. So I will continue to make requests and go before Internal Affairs and the Inspector General and see how things turn out.
Jabril Mohammed.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jabril Mohammed for Bismillah Justice Movement. This is a very weighty report here. We're dealing with a very weighty department here. This is the Inspector General's report. And we're dealing with audits, very weighty. We're not getting numbers, okay? We deal with special operations, specific. We're not getting numbers. We're not getting numbers in terms of the complaints resolved, or what was the recommendations, and language of that nature. Okay, so this is and this is to the IG. We need this. We need these numbers to know if, in fact, what we're doing in this particular agency is being effective. We don't want to be ineffective. Okay, so because I've been there at the Bradbury. However, I did get a sincere interview, and I did get a sincere response from Mr. Kevin. However, I'm not getting the response that the people would like to have at this point. We want to know how many people complained. How many complaints were there as far as misconduct? And what was the conclusion? What was the nature of the complaint? Where are the people who submitted these complaints? How do they feel in regards to these complaints and the way that the IG is working regarding to interfacing with the public? We need this. Okay, we come and we get blanket statements, and that's it's in keeping with getting by. But it's time for getting by. Is we want the evidence that you are how can I say deserving of our trust. Thank you.
And that is the final comment card, Mr. President.
Do we have a motion for approval of item? It's K.
8K.
8K.
Approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, we are now at the point of public comment. We have 2 public comment cards. We have Tud Hayes and Jabril Mohammed.
Thank you, guys. Good job.
The Sheriff's Department. You're going to be saddled with the same concern I have with the Sheriff's Department, although I don't think it's as immense as it will be with the Sheriff. I told you that former Sheriff Block, who was at that time the highest paid elected official in the entire nation, did you know? Anyway, I asked about voting while in jail. You don't vote while you're in jail. Well, the law says you can, and the law says you must, and the law says this department and the Sheriff's Department must construct a means and a method of getting that done. So that's what I want the LAPD to do also. By mail, however it's done, bring in the registrar's office and show you how to handle it. But that's one of the things I would like to see done, because that's what the law requires. Now, my passion is generated by the fact that the Supreme Court dealt a very harsh blow about the Voting Rights Act. So the notion now is to do voting anywhere and everywhere you possibly can, meaning the police department and the Sheriff's Department. Other things that are important is the fact that they claim that if you cannot be fed in custody with the LAPD, you must be taken somewhere where you can be fed. Well, of course, in my situation, that never occurred. And so I suffered the effect of that. And the cover-up is so silly. It's ridiculous, because the paramedics transported me to the hospital, and the paramedics dealt with me the second time. And so there's a paper trail. But nonetheless, we got to the point where the department, through Internal Affairs, is saying that you were never, ever in custody. Well, if that's the case, I'm an escapee. And I had a very successful escape because there's no background of my ever being in custody. Thank you.
Jabral Mohammed.
Commissioners, Jabril Mohammed for Bismillah, the Justice Movement. You know, we as a community, we are charged with responsibilities, and justice is one of them. Justice is one of them. And if, in fact, we are going to enforce the laws, then we should be just in doing so. Now, in regards to our effort at Bismillah, the Justice Movement, we consider ourselves an ombudsman organization. Our effort is merely to overview the goings-on and the operations of those who are trusted in regards to the public welfare and determine whether or not they are carrying out, as designed by the founders of this country, the rules and regulations. Now, I remember when Chief came into his tenure, I remember the words clearly. He said constitutional law enforcement, and those were so pristine words, and this is what we as a people look forward to, and we are calling on the administration to be sensitive to the concerns of the public. And I'm praying that my presence is a sincere representation of the needs assessment. That being, again, I reiterate, we need to establish the workshops ASAP so that the public and the administration can interface and come to know how to best assist one another so that we can have a better environment in the city in which we live. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, we did receive a speaker card from Boris Kefren that he has requested not to speak and has submitted a letter to the Commission President, which will be placed in the file also. We are now at the point of item number 10, closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A, B, C, and D in accordance with various government codes.
Hey, we're Preventice High. You're watching LA City View 35. Our city, our channel. We're LA, girls are watching TV now. LA City View 35.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Bartleson from the TV show Grounded for Life. On this episode of NASA Connect, you'll be introduced to the importance of good nutrition and exercise. You'll observe researchers and scientists using math, science, and technology to learn what we can learn in space about our bodies here on Earth. In your classroom, you'll do a cool, hands-on activity to estimate serving sizes of different foods and estimate your average daily energy needs. And using the instructional technology activity, you'll develop an exercise program for Norbert and Zot. So stay tuned as Jennifer Pulley takes you on another exciting episode of NASA Connect. Better health from space to Earth.
Okay, ready? We got 5. Last 4. Make sure you're breathing. 3. 2 more. 2. Come on, you can do it. Last 1. There we go. All right, guys, let's grab some water, rehydrate, take 5. Hi, I'm Jennifer Pulley, and welcome to NASA Connect, the show that connects you to math, science, technology, and NASA. In addition to being your host, I'm also a certified aerobics instructor.
Hey, Jennifer, that was a great workout, but I never knew I had so many stomach muscles.
We do.
I hope it helps me in my training.
Oh, what are you training for?
I want to try out for my cross-country team, and tryouts are in a couple of weeks.
RJ, that is super. How's your training going?
Well, I guess it's okay, but I really don't have too much energy during the day.
Well, have you researched what nutrients your body needs? Because then you have to estimate and measure portions to make sure that the nutrients are in there. And of course, you have to have an exercise program.
Measuring and estimating my nutritional needs. An exercise program? Not really. I think I'm eating okay. Do I look overweight?
No, not at all. Tell me, what did you eat for breakfast?
I had a soda and a